Welcome back to Königssee in Bavaria. It's day 2 of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships for 2017, and we are ready for the start of the second heat in the two-man competition. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Königssee, the oldest artificial ice track on the planet. I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me, John Morgan. After a mammoth first heat of 36 sleds, they are all at the top of the track. John getting ready to go again. And a surprise top 6.
Well, Lochner, Bloom, Lochner's still suffering from a respiratory illness the last 3 weeks. He doesn't get the great start. It's only the 8th best start. He won this event a couple weeks ago with the 8th best start, but today he's in 3rd place, chasing down the Cripps and Lumsden from Canada. Now, Cripps, this is his favorite track on the planet. He won here a couple years ago, his first ever victory. He got a bronze medal here last season. He's had a dismal season. Boy, could his attitude change with the top 3 here at the World Championships. But they're all chasing down the guy who's won 3 straight World Championships, Francisco Friedrich, Torsten Margus, his sidekick, and these guys almost the track record at the start, only 100th off the track record at the start. They're only 300ths off the track record at the bottom. Wow, this is shaping up as quite a challenge for the rest of the medals, but this guy's on his way to put himself in the history books.
We've had 9 different winners in the last 9 races in two-man on this track, and all of the top 3 have won here in two-man before. Francesco Friedrich 2 races ago, and the last winner on this track was Johannes Lochner just 3 weeks ago. Top 20 in the first heat, correct myself, top 21 because we had a tie for 20th, go in reverse order in the second heat, and then from Justin Olsen, Nick Cunningham, they go 22nd, 23rd in order of their first heat performance. Then they rest overnight, come back for heat 3, and the fastest 20 go in reverse order in heat 4. So today, everybody gets to compete. As long as you don't crash and manage to finish the run, then you will be good to go. It's warm, it's damp. We don't have the snow and the rain of yesterday. And there is your leader, triple world champion Francesco Friedrich, looking for 4 straight. Stephen Holcomb swept the board in Lake Placid 2012, two-man, four-man and team. And the last man to win on this track, Johannes Lochner, still with a wretched head cold. And Friedrich, the man with a quarter-second advantage, he's the one they have to chase down. And John, that's not going to be easy.
Well, with that type of lead, it's his race to lose right now. And he's run 3 straight world championships. And he's won his first at 22. The legendary Eugenio Monti won his first world championship of 5 when he was 29. So this kid is on the verge of greatness, which we've been talking about for a few years. And
of course, he's already had 3 junior world championship titles, 2 in two-man, 1 in four-man. He's had a team gold as well in the world championship, so his medal count is already up to 8 golds. 36 sleds getting ready for the second of 4 heats in the 2017 BMW IBSF World Bobsleigh Championships. The two-man competition, Heat 2, gets underway with a tie for 20th place. Uge Zalems and Yannis Janssens of Latvia tied to the 100th with Kim Dong-young of Korea. But since they tied the time, they go first.
Well, the Koreans went first, so that's, I think, is the tiebreaker, is whoever goes first posts that time first. So Zalman's with the 487 in the first run, 10th best start time, but he made a big mistake and he drifts again, not as bad as he did in the first heat, but he should have had a better time than 20th at the bottom, but his start number was also 16. 2 hits, that's the norm here, and now the big bend around the Turbodrome, and this is the Kreisel where you exit into the 100-meter most dangerous part of any bob track in the world right here. We saw some good crash yesterday in women's bobsled there. Here comes the Latvian, first man down, working with great ice. 121.4, better speed than he had in the first run, but he's got fresher ice to work with. 49.80, 1100's better than his first heat time.
Yeah, that's a big advantage. And 1100s in this part of the field is kind of the gap from 20th where he is to 10th.
Yeah,
so that could be a big
close.
step forward for him.
World Cup, it's two heat racing. World Championships, like the Olympics, 2 heats on one day, followed by 2 heats in the next. 4 total heats, and consistency is so important. You can't have one bad heat. You gotta have 4 good heats if you want a medal here.
There is Ugo Zalims, the only man to come into this sport from tug of war as his previous sporting background. He went from pulling to pushing, go figure. Kim Dong-young of Korea with Junglin Jung. Second out of the start shed this morning. Kim is a 29-year-old graduate student, former brakeman. Started driving in 2012, and Junglin Jun now experiencing his 3rd World Championships.
Yeah, they were 6th in the first event in Whistler. They were 7th in the second event in Lake Placid, and after that, they haven't got into the top 10. Look at that drift.
19th here 3 weeks ago, 22nd in last year's Worlds at Eagles. Similarly,
seeing a clock, 4:95. The clocks are just coming on our screen.
Yeah.
So he's 1400ths down of the Latvian, who he was tied with, but he got beat at the start by 900ths.
It's a good run down the bend away. He was beaten at the start by Zalims, who had a big skid early in the run, which took the speed away, and he managed to iron out that error.
Great speed.
70.8 miles an hour. Well, they may not be familiar enough to get the best out of Hyundai sleds, but they're certainly this very different looking sled is very good at wind cheating.
Well, 2200s down, doesn't matter what type of shape the sled's in, he's not going to overtake the Latvian. He got beat by 2500s at the bottom, but he got beat by
a quarter of a second, and that is likely to drop him out of the top 20.
Well, he'd probably be 21st. Well, I got to believe some other team going to catch him too, because the guys at 22nd, 23rd, 24th are not far out of there.
No.
But he got beat by 900s at the start, so he should be beat by 2700s at the bottom. He was beat by 25, so he got beat at the start. Well, it's all about them. Watch the way the Korean brakemen load here. I don't like their load technique. Watch him jump in like both feet together, and oh, that wasn't bad.
That was much more gentle.
Some of them, but something happened there at the end of the drive lines because they drifted to the right side of our screen.
Some of them come in like they've been airdropped out of a passing aircraft. Now, big sigh there from Dong-young Kim. Great looking sled for the Czech Republic's Dominik Dvořák. This young Czech driver really standing out this season. He's a 10.9 100-meter guy, and he and 27-year-old brakeman Jakub Nosek, 26 in last year's two-man worlds, his first as a driver, and they were in 19th place after the first heat.
Didn't like his start time of 89. They should be better than that. 13th best start. They should be in the top 7. 49 again. The velocity, 3rd best velocity. So there's 2 no-nos from these guys who last week 6th place. 2 weeks ago in Innsbruck, 6th place.
24th in the start list meant they didn't get good ice. Now 3rd out in the second heat. There's been no time for track preparation between the runs, but the track will get softer as the day continues.
112.9, that's not the speed the Korean sled had. And again, I don't understand why they're not getting better starts.
Oh, a little late
there. The boys squared up into the Kelstein curve.
Only 400s behind Ugo Zalims. Don't forget the Koreans were a quarter second back. If he can keep this alive, he will be
second.
Yeah.
3rd best speed down there.
Close, only 1100s back. Ugo Zalims on the right, and Jannis Janssens, the tall figure on the left of your shot, may stay in the leader's box a while. Well, 49.92, only 200 slower than their first run off an identical start. And that's the consistency that Dvořák has produced this season, but he's disappointed with that drive.
Here, a little late, you can tell. He's up there in frosty ice.
He's up on the wall. He should be on the track.
Now he's late, and now watch the sled square up. See it square now. Back runners are up off the ice. Pressure's on the nose. Transition into Kelstein at 70 miles an hour. He's looking at it. Woo.
Poland's Maciej Luty, 4th off in this second heat. 18th place out of a field of 36 in the first heat. And the 26-year-old from Warsaw, racing the Junior World Championships here back in 2009. He's done 5 Junior Worlds already, and this is his 4th Senior World Championship appearance. He's still only 26.
Now coached by the former Latvian World Cup winner, Jānis Minins, who's going to bring some expertise and knowledge to the Polish program. Poland, the third biggest market in the European world, and you know, everybody's rooting for the Poles to do good because the Poles are big winter sports fans.
500's back at the start.
Well, here,
Ugi Salims, and that gap will grow.
114 clicks, give him a chance. No speed at all. So this is a good sign for the Latvian. Remember, the Latvian had a terrible first heat out of the first curve. He had a big skid.
Yeah. So
he shouldn't be back there with the 10th best start time in the 20th position. 1700, so fourth best speed. You know, he might fall back at least one. Third best time, falls back 2 spots. Salomon's on the right. He's liking
pretty impassive, Ugi Salims at the best of times, but he moves up 3 more spots, or 3 spots so far. Maciej Luti slips one behind Dominik Dvorak, but he stays in front of Kim. So Kim of Korea is dropping down the order now. This could be a really bad run for Kim.
Well, this is the Disney ride, as I call it. 4 curves consecutively. They call it the snake pit. And you have to be so precise in there on your entry and exits, especially here. You make a mistake up in the first to second S, you're not getting out of the 4th S clean.
First is 3 Russian sleds in the competition that we're going to see, and this is the most experienced of the lot. 2 4th-place finishes in the Sochi Games for Alexander Kazyanov. He's got Alexei Pushkarev behind him.
He's going to need a better than a 24th start like he had the first run. This guy's a 3rd in World Cup points. 5 flat start.
Oh boy. 497 in the first heat. That's even slower.
Wow.
Don't forget, his foreman is his better discipline, but he was 10th here 3 weeks ago. He shouldn't be down in 17th.
He's never finished worse than 10th in the season.
I mean, we haven't imported another whole bunch of top 10 athletes. We've got a lot more in the field, but they're further down the pecking order.
He was 2nd in Altenburg a month ago.
Yeah.
In the world, you know, so this is a formidable pilot. He's lost in space right now than this track because of a negative start time.
Yeah, start time got worse. The drive is still sharp, but if you don't have the speed at the start, where's it going to come from?
And he's the World Cup leader in 4-man. So 50-10.
Wow. Down 4 spots. Only the 5th fastest run.
The Russians have had a rough World Championships. Yesterday, their top sled crashed out.
That's the slowest guy so far in this second heat. No wonder he's got his head buried in the cow.
There's no place for him to look right now. This is the World Cup leader in 4-man. He's 3rd in World Cup points in 2-man. He's the combined leader in the sport, and he's going to finish the first day in 20th.
If he's lucky.
Yeah.
If he's lucky, he's last at the moment. Don't forget, there was 21 going in the top 20.
The lines weren't bad. Just no speed, no start, and no downtime.
Dramatic stuff in the first day of the 2017 BMW IBSF 2-man bobsleigh World Championships. Ugi Salims climbing the order after a loose first run has been corrected. Next up for Monaco, this is Rudy Rinaldi with Boris Van behind him. 15th place, where we expect to see him these days in a World Cup 2-man race.
If he puts in a heat like he had in the first heat, he will move up. 491, great start. Velocity, just like his start. He had some great times in practice. He started way back in the field.
Yeah,
like
25th on the ice. So he didn't get great ice. 14th in the race here 3 weeks ago.
Monaco, great winter sport nation, right? Well, they finished 4th here in the World Championships in 2004.
Still in the lead by 700ths, but that slide down the bend away will take it away. His speed half a mile an hour slower than the Latvians.
Patrice Serville was the Monaco pilot that finished 4th. And I tell you, we've seen a lot of improvement out of Rudy Rinaldi.
And he's holding his lead over Ugi Salims. He's going to stop the Latvian in his tracks. He does.
49.88, only 1,400 slower. Bruno Manjon on the left, his brakesman Max Robert on the right. I always like to say they won the World Championships in 4-man in '99. They won the Olympic bronze medal in Nagano 98. Manjon brings a lot of expertise to this Monaco program.
Well, that is a great run and a great first day for Rudy Rinaldi.
The lines, you have to bend away. You have to feather yourself through here. 3 hits, a little bit of a skid in the second hit. And look at him come through Kreisel, the distance comparison. You can see Zalms had less distance traveled through there.
By a fraction, but the line was almost a photostat there, wasn't it? Great run from Rudy Rinaldi. They end the day firmly in the top 20. Russia's Alexei Stulnev and Maxim Belugin were in 15th place after the first of our 4 heats. And Stulnev, again, breaking out from the shadows in the Russian team this season. Yellow visor to cut down the glare on the wet track. It's a very monochrome day here, very foggy and misty around this area of the Bavarian Mountains.
6th in World Cup points, 4th here 3 weeks ago, his best 2-man finish ever, but start times are just suspect for him and his teammate. 4:97, well, at least he matched his time. Stulnev, his teammate, or Kazanov, his teammate, was 300ths worse, but the 6th best velocity.
He was 13th in last year's World Championships in Innsbruck, 15th after the first heat, but like you say, 4th here 3 weeks ago.
These are great lines. If he gets into the high 113 speed here, he'll have a chance. 113.4. Well, it's going to get down to the 100th of a second here at the bottom.
Behind Monaco from the start.
He's got good lines. Here he comes. He's always found speed in the bottom part of the track. He could do it here again.
Where is he finding speed that Stulnev can't?
It's going right to the 100th either
this
way.
This could be our first tie of the second heat. Oh, he's 100th behind.
You're 100th off.
I said it could be.
So Rudy Rinaldi picks off another very formidable Russian who finished 4th here 3 weeks ago.
Stulnev and Rinaldi were tied to the 100th in the first heat. The difference between them overnight, 100th that Rinaldi was faster in the second heat.
Rinaldi crushed him at the start, both runs.
Yeah. Well, they need to find out what they're doing with Stulnev's sled that's not happening.
And look at the difference here
on
comparison coming through here. Stulnev, 4 kilometers more meters.
You can see it, can't you?
4 meters more. Look at him go up and down, up and down. So that great comparison there.
A zigging and a zagging. Yeah, and he sees that down there on the big screen. He'll be looking at that going, yeah, that wasn't great. Well, next up, Stephen Holcomb and Carlo Valdez. Last time out on this track 3 weeks ago, Holky took a silver medal, tying with Francesco Friedrich. That seems a long way away now. He's only 300ths ahead of Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco.
31st best start time in the first run. That is shocking. I'm sure they got to be better than a 5 flat. 498, a little bit better, but you know, Holcomb a couple weeks ago here had the 18th and 19th best starts and finished tied for 2nd. But the bad start here has put him back in a 12th position. Even with perfect lines, it's tough to overcome that deficiency. And this is as good a line as anybody. Probably gonna have 113 speedy and 115 in the first heat.
Yeah. Got the speed, but
here he comes.
Here we go.
This is what he does.
This is driving in front of a youngster, Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco. This is not to get into the top 6. 900s up.
122.1.
If he was 900s faster in the first heat, he'd have been 6 spots further up the order.
So Holcomb only 500 slower in his second run than his first run. That's pretty consistent start, though. That 31st ranked start time. Holcomb is still recovering, believe it or not, from injury. They had him in England for 3 weeks last year, working with Gordon Bosworth in July. Then he went over to Nashville, Tennessee, worked over there with some physical therapists for a month of August. And Gordon Bosworth told me he's still not 100%. It's in a quad muscle. Rinaldi, look at that, at better speed than Holcomb. Holcomb, boy, is he quiet the way he steers that sled. Look what he does. This is his signature, too.
The high five, walk down the line.
Boy, there's a lot of respect for Steve Holcomb here in Berchtesgaden.
Chris Spring, Alex Kopax for Canada, 13th place after the first heat, and they were 700ths of a second out of the top 10. This is insanely tight, the pack of athletes, from 3rd down to 20th. Well, Lyndon Rush in the red cap at the top.
Start time, 3rd best start, 490. Velocity, 1. Alex Kopech told me that he's in the best shape of the last 10 months. He hasn't felt this good since last August. And that proves it right there. 3rd best start, 1st velocity. Let's see if the Springer can take the 2/10 and bring it out even more.
All 3 Canadian sleds in the top dozen in a field of 36.
Good speed.
Yep, 70.8, that's equal top speed with Stephen Holcomb.
Oh, he's losing time back though.
Wow, lost a 10th through the Kreisel. Is he going to be in the red numbers as he exits Echo Bond?
Let's see. Uh-oh, dead heat. Looks like Holcomb's going to pick him
at
up.
Speed at the line. He's only 3rd fastest. Enough? No. By 200s, he drops behind Holcomb. There's Steve Holcomb on the right, Carlo Valdez on the left.
Wow, that's strange. 1900s lead before Kreisel. He had an 800s better start than Holcomb. And little tap, though, looked like out of the Echo Bond.
1100 slower down this run.
He's still 85%. Look at the lines. Holcomb covered less distance through here than Spring. Look at the consistent line that Holcomb had. Spring was going up and down.
Yeah. Climbed late.
Down here to watch the transition here.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, he got knocked right on line, didn't he? But little bump from Chris Spring. Steve Holcomb still our race leader. Fastest 12 sleds in the first heat include Yoon Jung-won of Korea, last year's World Cup champion, and has 1 medal under his belt. He took a bronze in Whistler and has not been in the top 6 since the 1st week of January.
Look at the size of these two. And watch what the brakeman does getting the sled. And much better technique than we've seen out of him the last couple of weeks, 491. Boy, he was getting the best starts. Last year, he won this event last February. He won the World Cup title, came out and medaled in the first event in Whistler, and since then, they've been in a fall. I mean, they just don't have what they had last year. You know, you want to peak at the Olympic Games, but you don't want to fall from medals into the teens like he has since the turn of the 16-17.
He was 600s in front of Holcomb. He's behind coming off the Kreisel. He's going to lose ground as well. He's only 3rd on the split times. So Chris Spring will move up the order at the expense of the Korean as well.
2 or 3 places here.
Now we've said all season long, since Christmas, he's been in freefall.
Wow, 9th best time. 5th, falls 4 places. Holcomb and Spring both move up. So does Rudy Rinaldi.
The only sled slower than him is Alexander Kazyanov, who has also lost the lead of the World Cup standings in the last couple of races.
Perplexing. Driving brand new Hyundai sleds. They were driving combination Hyundai BTC sleds before Christmas and last year. And the lines, well, their lines aren't bad, but boy, there's just a lot of confusion in the Korean team as we head to Pyeongchang in a couple weeks. Look at these beautiful, spectacular pictures. Look at the confusion look on his face.
Yeah. Stephen Holcomb leads the 2-man bobsleigh World Cup, World Championships after the first 11 sleds down in our top 10. We go next with the fastest athletes from the first heats. Bruce Tasker and Joel Fearon, 6th fastest start, 11th at the bottom of the track.
They started late in the field, though. If he has another consistent run like he had in the first heat, he could move up 2 or 3 sleds here. The best British finish in 50 years, these two guys posted last year in Innsbruck with a 4th place finish just off the medals, and he's a new driver. Good lines there out of the S's.
Finished 8th here 3 weeks ago.
Huge lead, should have 113 plus speed. Doesn't,
And this is where it all sagged away. There wasn't the speed in the Kreisel. All new sleds for the British team. Gaps come down from 26 to 1800s.
Can't see him losing at all. He should be the leader, but it might only be by single digits. 8, it's going to be so close. Right to the 100. Oh! Holcomb, British.
Nothing wrong with that drive, but the speed just vanished out of the back of the sled below the Kreisel. Exactly the same as we saw in the first heat.
Boy, that speed indicator in Kreisel could tell it all. Holcomb was up there in the 113s. Tasker, half kilometer down.
This time he's only the 12th sled on the ice. He was 18th out of the first heat.
Watch the back end here, the transition. Do we see the runners go in the air? Look, is he cutting ice? Runner's a little bit bouncing there. Yeah, there's an uphill. Can't see the right runner. That looked pretty good.
Yeah, didn't look bad, but he lost speed down at the bottom of the track. Fastest 10 from the first of 4 heats in the two-man bobsleigh World Championships. Next up, as we get to Benny Meyer of Austria with Markus Sammer behind him. Benny started in skeleton, then he was a push athlete, almost retired 2 years ago. And now he's having the form of his life. Oh, and again, Markus Sammer, big hit, lifts the sled clean off the ice.
That's a mistake by an experienced brakeman.
He can't get in either.
Can't get in, 491. See what the velocity is, though. 5 to 6, so they didn't get hurt too much. Boy, look at him play with the rudder tips there. He snuck around that curve, didn't have great control of the sled. That could cost some speed. Not a good exit out of the S's.
Oh, big drifting slide, horrible bend away.
Speed, 112.8, well.
Was 1400s ahead of Holcomb. He'll be in the red as he exits the Kreisel. Surely can't control
there
that.
It goes. He's going to dominate places. Is he going to fall? So Holcomb's going to move up at least one more. How many places is Meyer going to fall?
Top 3 are covered by 800s. You're either going to beat them all or none of them.
He's going to fall 5-6 spots.
11th speed. He could lose 10 spots at the line. He's tied 9th.
The track. I mean, that was a bad drive, but he's still the 12th best time.
No,
how many sleds been down?
But you saw all the driving errors. They didn't get in. They skidded everywhere. They hit everything in sight. That was a horrible run for Benny Meyer. Just what he did not need.
13 sleds down the track, and this guy's got the 12th best
and look
time.
at the hit. Markus Sammer and Benny Meyer not coordinated
I don't think that cost
all.
him that much, but look at the drive through here. Look at Holcomb's consistency. Look at Meyer going up and down. Holcomb, the consistent line, the best speed on the bottom part of the track, and that's why he's living in the leader's box.
Canada's Nick Polignato with Neville Wright. Neville Wright, 36-year-old, returned this season from a 2-year hiatus away from the track, finishing his college degree and raising his daughter. Bass guitarist in his spare time.
What a heat for him.
Yeah. Polignato from Bishop's University's football program, the 29-year-old from Hamilton, Ontario, needs to double it up now and have a really good second drive.
Physical trainer by profession, 485. Decent start. Canadians get good starts. Polignato has had a breakout season for the Canadian program.
Neville Wright really has brought speed back to the team, hasn't he? 485's
the best start so far. This was the first guy down the track, 34 hundredths of the lead. This could be the best 2 heats of Nick Polignato's life if he gets through here as the leader.
And we talked a lot about
great speed.
We talked a lot about Dvorak, about Luti, and about Rinaldi, but Polignato has had a really breakout season as well.
And there's another Canadian to come, Cripps. He's in second.
2900s ahead of Holcomb.
He's going to be the leader, second best speed. Oh, flopped there, really late off that curve. Lost a lot of time.
Well, he was 900s ahead of Holcomb from the first heat, opens it up to 1400s.
Yeah, but that's his best. This guy hasn't finished in the top 10 consistently all year, and here he is in the top 7 of the world, 8 of the world championships.
If he doesn't sleep well tonight, I don't know what it takes, because that's a great day's work from Nick Polignato.
Never finished better than 13th in his life, and that was in Lake Placid. Wow, what a day for Nick Polignato, Canadian number 3. Speed. He even had better speed after the 4 S's, the snake pit. Schauen Gruber, we call it. I call it a Disney ride. Little snake there, but boy.
That was Benny Meyer,
That was Benny Myers, actually. But look at this is where he flopped off there. That's going to cost him. He went from 22 to 14, so he lost a 10th there.
Probably cost him a 10th of a second.
10th of a second. There's our leader, though. Great day for those guys.
Tie for 7th in the first heat between 2 Swiss sleds. Rico Peter, Thomas Amrein here. And coming up behind them, Beat Hefty and new boy Michael Cronin.
Race within a race. Rico Peter does not want to get beat by Beat Hefty, who's in the twilight of his very awesome bobsled career. He comes up next.
Rico Peter's had a good couple of seasons as well, hasn't he? From sort of kicked it off in Sochi a couple of years ago, end of the season 2 or 3 years ago, and since then, I've just talked him into a horror story.
Speed, 113.3 is not bad. Remember, Polinato had 113.9.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
a
think
quarter
he's
second
catch.
back already. He's going to lose half a dozen spots at least.
Wow, Nick Polinato moves up another spot.
So is Rico Peter too eager to beat Bert Hefty? Did he just overdrive there out of the S's?
Wow, ninth best
fastest
time.
run. Oh,
look at
what
these
a horror
happy
story.
Canadians.
Well,
if it was a World Cup race, Polinato would have his best finish ever.
Yep.
But he's got to sleep on it. We got 2 more tomorrow, but I'm rooting for him.
He'll sleep better than Rico Peter will, that's for certain. Oh, that was a horror story. Out of S4 and down the bend away. Look at this, breaks into a slide when he gets that
hits.
tap.
There's 3 hits, there's 4 hits, sideways, 5 hits. This isn't about the hits. Look at Wolfgang Stauffer. Wolfgang.
You don't need to translate that body language too clearly. One Swiss has stumbled, will the other. This is by far the most experienced Swiss driver right now. An Olympic and World Championship winning brakeman, an Olympic and World Championship medal winning driver as well. In fact, he has been better as a driver than as a brakeman. And this youngster behind him, Michael Quonen, new to the team, and therefore doesn't have the baggage that some of the other brakemen who have departed Bert Hefty's orbit have. He's got a great chance of helping him into a top half-dozen position.
Well, he used to be the best starter in the field, and now he's not. But he still gets pretty good starts in the first run, 487. That means now he's 3rd best velocity. It's pretty good.
Bronze medalist in last year's World Championships in Innsbruck, but he was only 26th in the World Cup race here 3 weeks ago.
He was just tuning his skills up for this, and now he can smell blood with his teammate Rico Peter, who just came down. If he beats Rico Peter, that is the first part of his agenda at this World Championships, emerging as Swiss 1 as we go to Pyeongchang, Korea's Olympic test in 3 weeks. 1100s though. This is Nick Polinato's going to get somebody else here.
Yep. Polinato will stay in the lead. Hefty's not going to find a tenth of a second down here. He's going to drop behind Holcomb. He'll be in 3rd, maybe 4th at the line. 4th. Loses 4 spots.
Bruce Tasker too moved up.
Tasker, Holcomb and Polinato all move up at the expense of both Swiss sleds.
Wow.
Polinato is knocking on the door of a top 6 finish at the end of day 1 of the Worlds. The track will not get any quicker for the remaining sleds either.
Wow. Wow. Look at the body language here.
Yep.
This is the guy who's the silver medalist at the Olympics. Look at Polinato's line. Look at Hefty going up and down. Well, Polinato's got some up and down on the pressure points. Great pictures by our team. It's not easy getting through that curve.
Nick Polinato of Canada leads. Fastest 6 from the first heat next up. Nico Walter and Eric Franke. Well, Walter has been in a little bit of a 2-man slump this season, but when it's time to produce, top 6 in the first heat must give him a boost. He's got to try and get closer to the medals.
Hey, he's sort of given up in the 2-man competition. I mentioned this in the first heat. He's sort of just saying, I'm a 4-man specialist.
But he was only 800ths out of bronze in the first heat. It's everything to play for. You can't give up on this track.
And it's, you know, he's like his Max Arndt is his mentor. Max retired, of course, now. Oh, these are not great lines by Nico Walter. You know, he is one of the favorites to win a medal. 114 speed. We haven't seen that.
Fastest of all so far into the Kreisel.
1200s back. Wow,
can he bring it back? Can he find speed? Don't forget, Polinato flopped out of the Ecovant. Better exit.
No, he's going to fall back. He's going to be 8th or 9th best.
3rd, 4th at the line, 4th at the line. He's behind Tasker and Holcomb and Polinato. Look at Polinato. If he grins any more than that, his ears are going to drop off. Nico Walter slips 4 spots.
There's a developing story here about the Canadian runners, and we'll get to it when Cripps comes up. But there's something here that's pretty strange.
Maybe they need to have their best set of runners stolen more often.
Again. But look at the lines here. I mean, this is not a good drive by Nico Walter. I mean, this is the first heat. He was really good lines, and he went early. But in this heat, I mean, it's a 4-heat race, so he's got a chance to recover. But he's sort of just using the 2-man as a warm-up for the 4-man. Look at the lines between Polinato, who's feathered his way through here, and look at the hits that Walter has taken.
Holcomb from 14th, Tasker from 11th, and Polinato from 9th might all end up in the top 6 at the end of day 1 at this rate. What can Oskars Melbardis and Yanis Strenger produce? Melbardis, 4th after the, beg your pardon, 5th after the first heat, still not fully fit, but coming off his first race win of the season in the 4-man 2 weeks ago. 483
the first run, 45 second run, should be the best velocity. It's not the best velocity.
He was 6th here 3 weeks ago in the 2-man. He was 5th in last year's Worlds in the 2-man. But then he was a little fitter than he is now. He's got a slender lead.
Ooh, that's not good. He's going to need 113 plus, 113.6 or so to have a chance.
Time
114.8.
Yes, he's fastest of all. So 500s becomes, no, still only 500ths of a second in front, ahead of Nick Polinato, a man who ranks probably 25 spots lower than him in the
graveyard section. Clean to
100.
He's not going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it.
Fastest speed of all. No, 400s behind. Polinato and Neville Wright. Wow.
Look at Sanders Prusis. He can't figure it out. We're struggling with some of the speeds and the times, figuring out what's happening here.
Wow.
The track is neutralized everybody.
Look at the mountains behind, swathed in mist. It is soft, it is mild, it is misty and moisty.
Well, makes for some great close racing. Nick Polinato.
No kidding.
Top 5 after 2 heats of the World Championships, at least. It could be better. 4 S's here. The snake pit, I mean, looks like he's perfect. The exit here, though, it comes out too early. That cost him. Look at the lines. You could see the rudder lines. That's how soft the ice is.
Exactly so. Exactly so. And it's getting slower, this track. Next up, then, the other Oskars. 4th place, 200s in front of his teammate for Oskars Keibermanis. 400s out of the medals from the first heat. Can he hang on to his position, or will he too slip down the order?
We talked about 10 sleds being separated by 10 1200s. We're seeing that result here in the second run. It is as close as we've ever seen it at the World Championships. 480, wow, best velocity, as expected. Keibermanis, though, not the experienced driver. He doesn't do well on this track.
Well, we've had a bunch of drivers, haven't we, really sharpen up this season, and Keibermanis has been one of those. His first ever World Cup win this year.
In 4-man.
His best results in 2-man in his career came this year as well. 113.7.
But we've seen 1400s disappear. It's got a 7. This is going to be another guy that's going to fall away.
He's gone.
Nick Polinato, the Canadians could have 2 sleds in the top 3 or 4 here. 6, he's going to fall. He's 3 places.
9th best speed. It is like mush at the bottom of the track. Dropped 7 places.
What a day for these 2 guys.
So he's behind Melbardis, Holcomb 4th, Bruce Tasker in 5th. Wow.
Strange, but I like it. Unbelievable here, the track and answer, Willie.
Well, don't forget, he's now the 50th sled down since 10 o'clock this morning.
And the lines. What's wrong with these lines?
Nothing. The track is just soft.
Little air. He's got a lot of air there, though. Transition, that wasn't bad.
Everybody does.
But there's another day tomorrow.
Polinato leads, 3 to go from our first heat.
Okay.
Yanis Lochner, last man to win on this track. We've had 9 different winners on this track in the last 9 races.
His father's got a house a mile from the track. His uncle Rudy won the World Championships in 1991 in Altenburg. That's his favorite athlete. He's battling a congestive condition that's really affected his ability to train. Doesn't have the starts that he had when he won here 3 weeks ago.
800ths of a second, the lead over Canada's Nick Polagnato. And I'll just say again, Polagnato, 9th place in the first heat, was 1100ths back, and the gap is shrinking.
Short down by 8. This is going to be probably equal to good speed here, though. There's no reason he can't be 8 or 10. 8, that's not going to hold up.
Nice line. What's he got down the bottom? This is his home track. Born in Berchtesgaden, now lives in Munich, still in Bavaria.
Oh, he's going to hold on. Barely, though.
Third fastest speed, but it should be enough at the line. Yes!
Listen to the crowd.
But Nick Polagnato will be no worse than 4th overnight.
Wow. What would that? That's a 100-to-1 shot. We would have bet a lot of money against that.
Well, you know what? After 9th in the first heat, we'd have been regretting putting our shirts on something.
But he was the first man down, but in the second heat, he still got one of the best times.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's talk about Lochner here. This guy, he's one of the favorites in the competition.
Look at the line he's got here. Look, barely even touches that left-hand wall. He knows what he's doing. There's Polagnato, beaming like a Cheshire cat. Yeah. We have just seen the Canadians knocked out of the lead, but still one Canadian sled. Second fastest in the first heat of the two-man World Championships, Justin Cripps, a winner on this track 4 seasons ago. Can he recapture that moment with brakeman Jesse Lumsden, who won here the year before that with Lyndon Rush?
Yeah, Cripps' first ever victory 2 years ago on this track. But that set of runners that he had then, and when he finished for the bronze medal here last year, they disappeared earlier in the week. So say the Canadians. You wouldn't know that with the results that Nick Polanato's sitting in second right now, and Cripps was second at the end of the first heat.
My conspiracy theory says Polagnato snaffled those runners.
Maybe Polanato got the runners. But look at the lines. Cripps loves this track. He's had a dismal season. Great lines. 114 speed here will give him a chance. He's got that.
700s ahead of Lochner from the first heat.
Nice, down to 13. That could be enough. Wow, Justin Cripps, you talk about liking the track. He's had nowhere near podiums all season.
He is opening up his advantage from 700s in the first heat. He'll nearly double that of Johannes Lochner in the second heat at the line. He will be
968
in at least the silver medal position overnight.
1100s. Wow.
Look down there, his teammates holding up the finger,
We didn't have
single finger.
We didn't have any Canadians in the favorites in the top 5.
Yeah.
I think we were wrong. Cripps, you could sort of understand. He does well on this track, but he's had a terrible season. I don't know how he turned the lights on when he came here, especially with saying he's lost his race runners.
Well, Cripps and Spring were second and third in the Lake Placid race.
That was it. Since then, he hasn't made the cut in 2 races. Look at Jesse
Lumsden. And here's our first heat leader, our triple defending world champions, Francesco Frugic and Torsten Margis. Little slip from Margis there off the blocks.
They had a almost start record, 78 in the first run, 79 in this run. Best start. They just missed the track record. I don't think there's any track record left in this track down below. But 40/100 lead. This is his race to lose. He's won 3 straight world championships. He won his first one at 22. The legendary Eugenio Monti won 5 straight world championships, but he didn't start to do that till he was 29.
Scared. Well, he has to crash in the labyrinth to give this away.
Speed, huge.
Insane speed.
Big
71.5 miles an hour, fastest of all.
It's his race to lose now. It's going to be an easy night for him. This guy is on the verge of being challenging one of the greatest legends in the sport.
He's going to be half a second clear overnight. Fastest speed of all, 76.5 miles an hour.
49.45, 3/10 slower. Look at the German coaches. They know Francisco Friedrich.
Well, the Altenburg track is his home, but he can make himself at home anywhere. Francesco Friedrich, Torsten Margis, 3 straight World Championship titles, and they are halfway home to a 4th.
But 2 Canadian sleds in the top 4.
Whoa. Stunning. And Polagnato what a day he's had. But Francesco Frigyk, again in a different class.
Little mistake. He made a mistake like this 2 weeks ago, and he lost the race to Johannes Lochner because of that mistake. But he's got such a lead. Best start, best down times.
And he is just in such a good place. And Torsten Margis as well. It's such an even percentage between the two of them. Look at that. Half a second clear of Justin Kripps, Johannes Lochner, and Nick Polonyato ahead of the Oscars. Holcomb moves up the order, and so too does Bruce Tasker, both in the top 10. Spring in 11th ahead of Rico Peter. Bert Hefty in the top 10 as well, having finished 26th here in two-man 3 weeks ago. What a turnaround in performance his brakeman has produced. So that's our fastest 20. Next up, we go from 22 on down the order. So Justin Olsen, maybe with a shot to get into the top 20 now.
Yeah, Olsen just missed the top 20 with probably the worst exit of these 4 S's of anybody. Let's see if he can keep it straight. He just can't get out of here straight.
That's better. That might be the best exit of S4 we've seen from him, and that's what he needs.
Yeah, he had probably, you can't throw it away.
Up to 14th on the split. Don't forget, he's starting 21st, but he had a good start.
He had the 3rd best start in the first heat. So, but he had also sideways on the exit of those S's where he's had problems with both the 2 and the 4.
Okay, he's up to 16th place on the split times and across the line in 17th position.
8th best time of the run.
What a good run. What a good run from Justin Olsen.
How can you have the 22nd and then start so late and have the 8th best time of the run?
Well, when he came out of S4 in the first heat, he was steering by looking out the side window of the sled, not out the windshield. That's why.
That'll give him some encouragement sleeping on it overnight, Justin. Way to go. Wow, 8th best times? Look at it. Track star, line stock in the back, and look at the lines here as he gets through the labyrinth. Look at the back end. Do we see this? Look at the cut some ice there. Look at the back right runners in the air a little bit. Pretty good transition from this young pilot from the United States.
That. 9th fastest run. Justin Olsen moves up the order. Chance now for the USA's Nick Cunningham as well, the man who makes his home in Monterey, California. Won the North America's Cup at a canter this season after not making the World Cup squad in team trials. And Adrian Adams behind him. They've got something to prove, these guys. Just out of the top 20 in the first heat. 100th behind Justin Olsen.
Well, start time. They've got to get 94, 95.
Cunningham struggles to get his feet around the D-rings.
98. 20th of the 23 starts.
13th best speed though, so that's good velocity in the first corner. He needs to get his head around this second run, try and figure his way up the order, a little skinny. Oh, what a horrid bend away. Oh, it just gets worse and worse.
Brakeman Adrian Adams, veteran of the team the last 3 years. Reidsville, North Carolina guy. Cunningham, a Boise State product, rodeo guy. Boy, a little rodeo on the exit of those 4 S's.
Yeah. Adrian Adams' dad was a bobsledder as well, Randy Russell, so it's a family habit with him. Across the line in 23rd place. He doesn't pick up a spot. Just a fraction quicker 22nd run, but not enough to move him up the order. So Nick Cunningham and Adrian Adams shake their heads. Cunningham buries his head in the cowl. That was just the run he didn't want. Hasn't raced on this track in over a season. Out of S4, looked okay, but late pressure just put him into a slide. Cannoned off the wall and another huge skid down the bend away. Really tough break for the US sled. Justin Olsen had just climbed the order. And unfortunately, Olsen up to 17th, Holcomb up to 8th. Cunningham goes the other way. 23rd spot for the Cowboy. What about the next sled for Great Britain? Bradley Hall, 33rd of our 36 sleds. He came down off a 16th fastest start with rugby player Sam Blanchet to finish in 24th position. Well, Bradley with a gashed right hand in training a few weeks ago, months ago now. severed all the tendons on the back of his hand. He's still struggling to recover from that. 492 getaway. He hasn't got the strength in his hand even to make a fist around the push bar. He has to push it with an open palm. He's still got the feel on the D-rings. Good exit from S4, that's what he needed. He stops the sled breaking into a skid, and he does. 24th place when he sat down, up to 22nd on the splits now. 23rd place, again the softer ice later in the morning here, early in the afternoon. Taking a bit of speed out of the sled. 23rd place ahead of Nick Cunningham, not going to pick off Kim of Korea at the line, no he doesn't. So 50.11 slide, 1100s quicker than Cunningham of the USA. So he moves in front by 300ths of a second. He was 800ths behind Cunningham in the first heat. Well, it's going to be a slow climb back up the order. 2 more heats tomorrow if he gets into the top 20. He's got the first heat to try and do that. But again, he'll be starting off in 23rd spot, so he won't get the best of the ice. Awful lot better than he had in the first heat, mind you. So Brad Hall, Sam Blanchet pick up 1 spot. And now everybody's battling for scraps from the table. Ivo de Bruin trying to turn around his form with the Netherlands team. They've re-recruited Jeroen Pick, who was one of the lead brakemen in the Dutch team up to 2014. Got cut before Sochi, retired. Tom Delahunty and the team persuaded him to unretire just a couple of weeks ago. They get their little sync going by rocking the sled slightly backwards and forwards so that they're both moving forward at the same time. It's the old school way of doing it, and it still has so much benefit in getting a clean hit. You see so often that athletes don't manage to get that synchronicity together. 5 flat start was a little better than they managed in the first heat. But a horrible bend away from Ivo de Bruin. He's going to struggle now to find any more performance down at the bottom of the track. 25th in the first heat. He is still currently 25th. And dropping away a little. The gap is growing. He was 1.1 behind the leader at the top of the track. He's now 1.7 back. A 50.23, that is the slowest run in the second heat. And as we saw in the first, the track getting softer and slower as every sled comes down. Well, this is going to be really tough now for everybody following, because the gaps are just going to grow. And de Bruin just hits at the wrong angle here. That front-back tap-tap puts him into a little skid. In the Kreisel, there's your leader, Francesco Friedrich. He holds a high line early. De Bruin up and down a couple of times. That's the pressure of the centrifugal force. Well, still a smile from Ivo. He will hope to have a good day tomorrow in the third heat. So too will Maxim Andrianov, tied to the 100th with the Dutch after the first heat, the third of our Russian sleds. Kirilan took behind him. 499 getaway, so exactly the same as they managed in the first heat, but de Bruin started 200s faster, so can he find anything at all? Andrianov, 28 years old, former luge slider. Russians have a habit of recruiting luge sliders into bobsled, but a tappy run down the straight. This is his only World Championship start as a driver. 18th here 3 weeks ago in the 2-man race. So to be down in 25th place, equal, was not good news. He'll put himself just clear of Ivo de Bruin by 400ths of a second. And he moves, well, he stays in 25th, but the tie with de Bruin is broken, and Ivo will slip a spot giving away, in fact, 800s to Max Andrianov in that second of 4 heats. Again, to reiterate, unlike a World Cup race, which is 2 heats, 4 heats in the World Championships, 3 heats for anybody who completes the course safely, and the 4th heat is cut to the fastest 20. We go in reverse order, 20 down to 1 to decide the medals. Looks as though Maxim Andrianov will have no part in the 4th heat. What about Loic Kostegh and Vincent Castel? Castel, new brakeman to the team this year. Loic Kostegh now in his 4th World Championships, the 29-year-old. Just missed the cut in 21st place in the January race here. He was 23rd in the 2-man competition in last year's Worlds in Innsbruck, Austria. But Doria, this 26-year-old sprinter from Lyon, on the back of the sled, certainly seems to have brought a boost in starting performance. 4.99 the first heat, 4.99 in the second. Kostegh definitely has the ability to drive, almost like a cookie-cutter replica of his coach Bruno Mijon, where the 4-man is his strongest suit, but a long, bendy, bend away, sliding, sliding, sliding. It's like the back of the sled just got away and stayed away, and 111.7, very low speed into the Kreisel because of all that skidding down the ice. The crowd here at the Königssee track line all the way down to the bottom. Unfortunately, that's where Loic Kostegh is going to end up. Will he be in front of Ivo de Bruin? At the line, we don't get a time for him. Let's hope we will get a backup time. He looked as though he was dropping behind, and he is in 27th spot. So he drops behind, or rather remains where he was, didn't get in front of Ivo de Bruin. The rest of the French team helping with the sled. Into the S's, this corkscrew roller coaster ride, breaks into a skid, hits the wall, doesn't straighten it up enough. More skidding here. You know how you slow yourself down on ice skates and skis? By going sideways, right? That's exactly the same with the runners on the sled. 3 German sleds plus Richard Olsner, the junior world champion. The junior world champion always gets a free buy into the senior worlds. This is the 2nd year in succession Olsner's managed to do that. With this 19-year-old brakeman, Alexander Schuler, Olsner had a horror story trip down the first time. The 22-year-old double junior world champion in 2-man. 4.97 getaway, a fraction slower than their first heat. Let's see if he can climb the order a little. It'll be the exit of the S's here, the Schlangengruber, S1, S2, height in S3, and then control S4. Does he control the pressure a little better? Oh, but still gets a skid off the first hit. He's trying to control the exit of S4 too much, and as a result, he's paying the penalty all the way down. A wavy Kreisel as well. Olsner knows this track better, still only 22. Product of the German program, he should know this track inside out. At the moment, from 26 at the start, he is at the tail of the field, 27th spot. 24th fastest run from him. So that will put him in 27th position. Matthias Höpfner on the right-hand side. Winner on this track in 2-man with Alex Mann in the 2007-8 season in the 2-man competition. And Richard Olsner, well, again, trying to control the late pressure out of S4. Skiddy there, double tap. And look at him compared to Francesco Friedrich, which is the further forward of the 2 images. Friedrich has the line firmly under control, doesn't he? You can't get down here without taking taps. But Olsner took rather too many there. Next up for the Czech Republic, Jan Verba. His teammate Dominik Suchy had a good first, Dominik Dvorak rather, had a good first heat. Currently lies in 18th place after his second. Jan Verba, a further 11 places back. 29th after the first of our 2 heats. 32nd out of the start shed. 4:98 getaway is a couple of hundred slower than they managed in the first heat. Good exit out of S4. Good pair of hands. Here, just as we say that, clatters his way into a big skid down the straightaway. Through this 270-degree Kreisel, drops down into the labyrinth, get a long run down, and then this really tight, twisty chicane section. Through Echo Vans, the big, sweeping left-hander, and then uphill, and quite steeply uphill to the finish line as well. And then even more steeply up towards the finish dock. He won't pick up a spot. A 50.48 run is the slowest we've seen in the second heat. So Jan Verber will not move up from 29th place out of the 36 sleds that started the first heat. So Dominic Sushi in 18th. Jan Verber will be no better than 29th overnight. And a horrible bend away is just part of the reason why.
Fresh from my interviews with Justin Cripps and Jesse Lumsden, I asked them about the runners. They didn't say too much about it. Obviously, what they got on now was working pretty good. And so was Nick Polinato. Wow. Strange, Martin. That heat was strange.
Well, it's getting slower and slower, the track. Everybody is going slower than the sleds in front of them. Now, that's what you sort of expect, but can Simone Bertazzo reverse that trend? Young Matteo Variola behind him. Fast pair of legs, but load that comfortably. A 5:06, again, that's a fraction slower than their first heat. But then the temperature, the moisture in the track, that's going to affect the start area as well. Even our race leader, Francesco Friedrich, didn't start as quickly as he had in the first heat. Despite that hit on the exit of S4, Bertazzo knows how to take the hit and keep the sled straight. 1:12.8, not bad speed from the Italian, but still in 30th place. Somehow today, Bert Hefty has reversed the sagging decline in his performance. Simone Bertazzo unable to do so.
Yeah, but sitting there, Hefty had the 8th best start time.
Yeah.
Bertazzo at the 30th best start time. Boy, for an athlete as accomplished as he is, you know he's just looking at Leon Chung and probably become the coach of the Italian program and recruit some athletes.
Well, that was 1400ths of a second quicker than Jan Verber. The Czech Republic just went down. They were tied, so he does stay in front of Verber. And with 30 sleds down, Francesco Friedrich's 2600ths becomes a 5200ths advantage over Justin Cripps. Johannes Lochner still holding third, but Nick Polinato, what a day he's had. And Steve Holcomb from 14th to 7th, Brutaska from 11th to 8th. They leapt up the order as well. 30 down, 6 to come. Markus Treichel and Franz Esterhammer. Treichel, the junior of the two Austrian bobsledders, although he started driving bobsleds first. His first junior worlds here in Königssee. Benny Meyer was one of his brakemen. Meyer then converting from skeleton to bob. There's Benny's dad, Manfred Meyer, the coach, but it's not that has made Benny Meyer the better of the drivers. 5:01 start for Treichel and Esterhammer again, 300 slower than their first heat getaway.
These were the rookies of the year. There's an old trophy they give away. It started in 1960 to the World Championship rookies. They compete in 2 and 4. They won this trophy. Ironically, the trophy was missing in action from 1984 until about 5 years ago when somebody pulled it out of the garage.
Horrible run down the bend away, little tidier through the lower labyrinth. Treichel started in 31st place, and out of the S's he picked up a spot, but he's sagged down behind Jan Verber again. And at the line, 50.43, quicker than Verber by 500ths, but he was 600ths behind him after the first heat, so he remains 31st behind Jan Verber.
2,600 slower in his first run. That's pretty much the norm. Bet you the average is 25 to 30. Exit of the S's, which pivotal part of the track. This is one of the three. This is pretty good, driving in this British rented sled. I think it's a BTC sled, right? British?
Might be a Singer, actually, if it's a British one, or
Singer,
Singer Cal,
yeah,
certainly.
Singer, yeah.
Possibly on an older Dresden frame. So Marcus Treichel remains in 31st place for the moment, with 5 final sleds to come in the second of 4 heats, 2 today, 2 on Sunday for the two-man World Championships. And this is the young Italian Patrick Baumgartner. Constantino Ugi, his brakeman, in his 3rd World Championships. 22-year-old Baumgartner, in fact, Ugi in his 4th Worlds. Bologna, but man from Bologna. But Patrick Baumgartner, former skier, his 1st World Championships.
His brakeman, a good technique coming out of the blocks, just no time. 32nd best start, and boy, when you have that type of a start efficiency, you might as well not be out here.
Baumgartner, 22, one of the younger drivers in the field. I think there's only a couple younger than him. He's only started 3 World Cup races in two-man. This is his 1st ever World Championships. He wasn't here in January, 3 weeks ago, because he was at the Junior Worlds, which are in Winterberg, not far up the road.
Well, everybody's going 25, 30 slower, so he should stay within that norm. 22nd best time, that's not bad. The speed down on the bottom part of the track. Ducks his head, 32nd best time. 50.54, and he's 2,900 slow.
Yep. And so the track is just going away now. Nobody is finding more speed than they did in the first heat, no matter how uncomfortable their first heats were.
The crowd is left to go get some bratwurst, but they don't have much time because we're starting the women's race. What time?
When are we going to get our bratwurst?
Oh, we got plenty of time.
Baumgartner,
yeah,
the
so
bad run. 1, 2,
2 hours.
3 standard hits down the bend away.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the conditions of this track with the women's final 2 heats.
The good news is the track team get a couple of hours to re-prep it. We had 15 minutes between the end of Heat 1 and the beginning of Heat 2. That's not even time for them to turn around and count their feet.
And there's only 21 women's sleds, so they'll have time to work on it in between heats. By the time the second heat gets out for the women at 4:49, the sun set. It's going to get a little cooler. The track might get a little quicker. And the women's race, top 3 sleds separated by 500ths. What a competition we have coming up later today.
Yonin Suk, the youngest of the Korean athletes. Last time he appeared in a World Championships, he was a brakeman for Yun Jung Won. This is his 1st as a driver. He's only actually started 1 World Cup race in his career as a driver, and that was in the 4-man. It's his 1st senior 2-man drive. Not a bad exit off the 4th of the S's, and a pretty decent run down the bend away. He might pick up a spot here.
This is great speed, but you know, the Korean sleds, good speed, but you know, his 26th best start time.
He was a 1/4 second behind Patrick Baumgartner of Italy as well, so he's going to have to do an awful lot.
He was also sideways in the bend around in the first run. This could be a better run. 50.49 in the first run.
Not going to pick up a spot, but he might
50.20. Look at this. He's one of the few people
Yeah.
that improved. 50. He went 2,900ths better. That tells you how bad he was in the first run.
Yeah. A much less horrible run. He was 3,400ths quicker than Baumgartner, who went down immediately in front of him. So Yoongjin Suk, the driver, and Jihan Oh, his brakeman. And of course, our final World Cup race this season in 3 weeks will be on the Olympic track in Korea.
Look at the transition. There's the right runner up in the air.
Brakeman
Pressure in the nose, and then into the left runners. Look at those pictures. 500 frames a second.
Three to go in the second of 4 heats of the Bobsleigh World Championships for 2-man, and this is our youngest athlete, 18, Mihai Tenter, barely old enough to drive a car. They let him do 75 miles an hour on sheet ice. Florent Krashuin, his brakeman, in his 5th World Championships. Tenter, we have never seen before at the senior level.
No, not very tall, about 5'7".
Gets in, gets down quickly, a 5 flat.
Well, the driving monobobs at the Junior World Championships last year, 4th in Lillehammer. And, you know, that's the way you learn those monobob program, and here he is. This is much better line. Remember the first heat, he was sideways. And the Romanian coaches were beside themselves, but he wasn't the only guy to go sideways down that bend around.
He was 4th in the Youth Olympic Games in Lillehammer in the boys monobob. He had 2 wins in the Omega Series that led up to that. So he's definitely got the ability to drive. 18 years old, needs more time on ice. He only started driving 2-seater bobs this season.
34, 50.58. He went 500ths better than his first run. Of course, he was sideways in his first one all the way down the track. So, what we had, 71 sleds down the track so far with 1 to go, and it's warm.
Bit of Romanian support there at the bottom for him.
Here's our position up there, the one with all the taped papers on it.
Yeah. Don't give away our secrets. Fans and teammates down at the bottom. Friends and family come from Romania to Bavaria.
2 hits, 3 hits, not bad. He was sideways. He had the sled completely sideways in that straightaway in the first run.
And there is the glamour, humping these big sleds around on the cold, gritty surface. Final 2 sleds of our second heat, Serbia and Croatia. So we've just had Romania. Vuk, the other end of the experience scale from our Romanian driver Mihai Tentia. 33-year-old's first World Championships was in Altenburg in 2008, getting on for a decade ago. He's also a 2-time Olympian for Serbia.
His father, Boris, Olympian in Sarajevo for Yugoslavia in 1984. Boris gave me a couple rides down that Sarajevo track, and camera sled rides, and that was an interesting experience, that track.
You've forgiven him now, though, right?
No, it wasn't his fault. It's my fear factor. That track was tricky.
Sarajevo track was an old, gnarly...
It was brand built for the 84 games.
So it was that old-fashioned track.
Hey, our American skeleton coach, Zach Lund, was just there the last couple of days going up and down it.
Showed me pictures of some of the corners there where the wall is absolutely vertical in the middle of the corner. No inclination to it at all. 35th after the first heat from Vuk. And a neat, tidy drive, but lacking the speed at the start. 5:08 getaway. That means he will be in 35th place at line 50.81. 1500ths
slower than the first descent down the track.
And again, that means he's tidied up after his first run, because pretty much everybody else is the standard quarter-second slower at this end of the field. So he's tidied up a couple of the errors that crept in.
You know, the brakeman, he's got a ride here. Look at it. You could see a lot of his shoulders and stuff. He's not close enough to the driver. Look at him. Look at him bounce around back there. So I don't think he's setting that sled exactly comfortable.
He also needs to get rid of the yellow stripes on his jersey so that you can't see how high his shoulders are. He's doing himself no favors. Our final sled then is school teacher Drazen Cilic and mechanical engineer Mate Metsulic. 31-year-old driver and 35-year-old brakeman. Yep.
He just came in, and I don't think we've seen him before.
In fact, Drazen Cilic has only had 4 World Cup starts as a driver in 2-man. In fact, he's only had 4 World Cup starts, period, only 2 as a driver. The other 2 were as a brakeman for Ivan Sola, who represented Croatia for a good dozen years.
Hope Ivan is watching. Say hello to him. And good lines here by Mr. Cilic.
This is Drazen Cilic's 3rd World Championships as a 2-man driver. His first Worlds were here in 2011 as a brakeman for Ivan Sola.
With slow start, very good speed.
Yep.
You have the worst start in the field. 36 out of 36. 30th speed in the bottom. A little late there. He's probably going to be late here. Watch out. Made it interesting. 51.46. 1400 slower than his first run.
Well, again,
Only that Romanian kid got faster in the second run there in the last 10 sleds.
like Vukrajinovic, he found a little bit to tidy up in the second heat, closed the gap a fraction. So, Croatian part-time team.
High on the Ekovan, which means he's got to dive out, then he's got to go back up, centrifugal force way up high there.
Yep.
Now he steers down into the graveyard section of the track where you lose all your time, and then here he's still struggling from that Ekovan exit, 150 meters later.
So there is Drazen Cilic on the right, Marti Medzilic on the left-hand side, and as ever, an appreciative audience for all of our sliders here, and especially for this man. They're expecting him to four-peat, is that a thing? Take his fourth straight two-man world championship title. Francesco Frigic, the defending title holder.
I just got told the interview, Torsten Margus says they're going to get the start record tomorrow. It's going to be colder, better conditions. They're going to go out and get both the track and start records. It's their world championships to lose right now. They have a huge lead going into the second day.
Yes, they do. Francesco Frigic leads by half a second. And look behind, Justin Cripps, Johannes Lochner, Nick Polagnato. Two German sleds in the top four, you can understand. Two Canadians, nobody expected that,
especially Polagnato.
Yeah, then the Latvians, Steve Holcomb in seventh, Bruce Tasker up to eighth. They both had great second runs to haul themselves firmly up the order. And Beat Hefty rounds out the top 10 ahead of Chris Spring and Rico Peter, who dropped 700s behind his teammate. The two Swiss sleds tied after the first heat. Ruda Rinaldi, a good day for him. Ugo Zalims climbed up into the 20. Meyer and Luthi tied in 19th place for Austria and Poland. Monaco
good job too by Justin Olsen from 22nd to 17th, with the 8th best time of the second run.
Absolutely right. Just missed out on getting the top 20 for all three American sleds. Nick Cunningham down in 23rd. So Simone Battazzo moved into 29th ahead of Jan Verber, but below there, everybody else pretty much in stasis. Tomorrow, heats 3, and for the fastest 20, heat 4 of the two-man bobsleigh World Championships. Until then, from John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the FIBT TV crew for the two-man World Championships here in Königssee, Bavaria. Overnight leader Francesco Frigic will sleep very easy. Find out if he can win gold for the fourth straight time tomorrow here in Bavaria.